Hello and welcome to another VR review with me, Mike, from Virtual Reality Oasis, and my Frisian friend, Nathie. How you doing, dude? How you doing on this fine Thursday morning, mate?
I am doing fine. Do I still look alive, by the way? I don't know. I'm okay in a way, but I haven't had that much sleep lately, I think.
You've been playing Torn as well, like, too much.
Yes.
And obviously recovering still from Gamescom. You know, we know that was a crazy event.
Dude.
We both had a lot of fun there.
Totally.
But we're gathering together again today to do another one of these sort of virtual reality reviews together. You guys and girls seem to really sort of dig this format where we discuss and review the latest VR games. We'd love to know your feedback in the comments if you've got any questions for us, any feedback for us, and also if you'd like to let us know which game you'd like us to review next. That would be really cool as well.
Yes, please.
But today we're getting together to talk about, of course, Torn. And although we're going to be talking about the game in detail, we'll try and avoid as many spoilers as possible, so you can still go ahead and enjoy the game after watching this review, so don't you worry about that. So let's start off with the very basics and tell you about the sort of details about this game. First up, this game was released on the 28th of August 2018 and is available on Oculus, Steam, and PSVR. Now, Torn is a dark science fiction mystery puzzle game. You take the role of a sort of video blogger who is Catherine Patterson, who discovers the abandoned mansion of a missing Dr. Lawrence Talbot. Now, apparently he's been missing for 64 years, so the mystery is, like, where has he gone? Well,
64 years, Marty! Okay, go on.
You have to enter the mansion and explore and use the gravity tool, which is a mysterious tool that you pick up on your way, to sort of activate his machines that he's left laying around the mansion, and to transport to the strange dimension known as the Parallel to uncover the mystery of his disappearance. Now, the game is teeming with puzzles and creations of a mad sort of disembodied physicist, and Talbot's Mansion is a sandbox VR tourist destination built for fans of classic science fiction like the Twilight Zone and Black Mirror.
Ooh,
so
that sounds classy. I like that.
Yeah, and that is what had me really interested in this game, because I really love puzzle games in virtual reality. I think it's a great medium for puzzle games, but also I really love Black Mirror. It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So the combination of the two of them really got me hyped about this one. So I don't know if do you enjoy puzzle games in VR, dude?
Yeah, especially the escape ones are amazing.
Okay.
You know, where you're stuck for hours.
Looking for that key to get out.
Yes,
of
you're like,
some
help,
handcuffs or
help
something to
me,
escape.
please. It's just fun, you know. Like, training your brain is one of the best ways to, like, you know, play games.
Yeah, absolutely. You're sort of getting something out of it as well. You feel like you're achieving
It's
something.
it's satisfying to find the solution and to open that door.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about Black Mirror? Have you watched any episodes of Black Mirror before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I love that TV show, and I'd urge any of the viewers out there that haven't seen Black Mirror to go and check it out. It's on Netflix. It's a super weird sort of sci-fi dystopian future vision of how technology turns against us. It's just genius.
I can remember that you recommended me watching it, and you said, like, just watch it. So I started with the first one.
Oh god.
And
no.
you know, I'm not gonna go into details, but let's say if I can recommend people watching it now, then don't go for the first one. That's something you forgot to tell me.
Yeah, I totally
I was
agree.
like, okay, I don't know if I want to see more of this. Then I watched the second one. I was like, okay, yeah, this is legit. But the first one makes you wonder what the existence is of life.
Yeah, and you'll question me, you know, in future. You'll be like, that dude likes some messed up stuff.
Yeah, Mike's like, wow, this is the best series ever. He's a very strange person.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Torn. If you're interested in picking up this game, it's 23 British pounds, $29.99 in US dollars, and they also have a 15% discount on launch up until the 4th of September. So if you want to pick it up, now is a good time to do it. So hopefully by the end of this video, we'd have kind of made up your mind either way and given you the information to make an informative choice yourself, whether you think it's worth your time and money. So let's talk about the game's development, because it's kind of an unusual one in that it's developed by a company called Aspyr Studio. They're based in Austin, Texas. Now, this is the first game that they've actually developed themselves in-house. Previously, they've been responsible for publishing games such as Observer, which was a cyberpunk-style game featuring Rutger Hauer. I don't know if you remember that one. It was like a PC game. And they also port over games from PC to Mac. So they ported over Borderlands 2, Call of Duty, Civilization, and your favorite,
BioShock, yes.
BioShock Infinite, of course. And it seems like this relationship with BioShock paid off, as they actually had the writer from the original BioShock game and Tomb Raider, Susan O'Connor, on board to do the writing for this game alongside Neill Glancy. So that's kind of where some of the BioShock vibes kind of trickle over into this one. Did you kind of get the BioShock vibes in this one?
Yeah, especially the fact that there is an elevator in this game.
Yes, and I'm going to be talking more about that elevator later on in the graphics, because let's move on to the graphics then, because I played this game on Vive Pro. What headset did you use to play this one?
I played it on the vanilla Vive.
Vanilla Vive, okay. The original and best flavor. Okay, so like playing it on the Vive Pro, and I'm sure you probably experienced the same experience using the original Vive, was that the game looks great. Like, it's a really nice looking game, right? Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Like when you start off the game and you're walking up to the mansion and you've kind of got the woods around you, it really looks beautiful. It's like a pleasure for the eyes.
It's like a painting in a way. It's yeah. Like the start is something I would play again.
Really, really nice. Really
Stunning.
Nice start to the game. And, you know, when you do get into the mansion itself, full of detail, loads of stuff going on in these environments. You know, you can do some really cool stuff as well, like some material physics in the game work really well. Like there's some curtains, and there's cobwebs which you can brush aside and move and manipulate, which is kind of cool. And then glass and reflections are handled really well in the game as well. And like you mentioned about the lifts, like I remember there was a part where I got into the lift and I looked up and the ceiling of the lift was actually made of glass, so you could see through it, and it was a really nice effect. It kind of felt like you was in that lift from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you know, like kind of magical lift.
The graphics were very nice, but for me, the soundtracks were really sucking me into the story with this one. I was like, oh, I'm getting so like curious. I just knew my curiosity would lead to trouble in the end. So by following all those haunting like sounds and music, I kind of got into that mansion, you know. So it felt like such a smooth like introduction.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you've hit the nail on the head there a little bit in that, you know, the first hour of the game, the lead up to like the actual main sort of meat and bones of the game, is probably one of the game's strongest points. You know, the beginning, the intrigue around the story, the mystery, the early part of the game is definitely the most interesting. It kind of peters off in the middle, then kind of leads up to a crescendo at the end. We won't spoil anything, but that's kind of how it sort of plays out. But in the mansion itself, you know, like I said, it's full of detail. You've kind of got all these steampunk machines that have kind of been left abandoned by Dr. Talbot. And he's got like these huge cables just like going through random doorways and stuff. You can really tell that he was like this kind of eccentric type that just really was passionate about his projects and really didn't care about the mansion. He was just like, yeah, I'm just going to put this like huge cable through this doorway. Mad scientist. Definitely mad scientist. Definitely mad scientist. But the graphics and the art style do a great job of creating an interesting world that, it is wanting you to go and explore it, and you feel like that intrigue about exploring the mansion itself.
Dude, like the way the lights from the outside are like shining into the mansion has been done so well. It's
No, you're right, and it's funny because like after watching the NVIDIA GeForce RTX on, RTX off thing, you know, now you can kind of see like when people like studios are faking it, and they did a pretty good job of faking like the outside light and the outside sort of environment coming in through the glass windows of some of the rooms. But really, like a game like this would have been really cool with the RTX technology available to them. They could have really made some interesting stuff with that. So totally. It's a shame they didn't have access to that technology at the time of the development.
Yeah, what I think is so cool about Torn is that the visuals, the graphics are as important as the sounds and the music. They found a nice balance between those, you know. So
absolutely, and it does stack up to be one of the better looking games available in VR right now. So they did a really decent job there. Yeah. So let's move about onto a more sort of spicy topic, and that is the controls, because locomotion options always get people triggered, you know, and this is the problem I think with locomotion in general, is that it's very difficult to satisfy everyone. But they have put 3 different control options in this game. You've got smooth locomotion, where you can sort of push on I was playing on the Vive, so I was pushing on the left touchpad to move forward, and then you look with your head in the direction you want to go. Now, this kind of triggers some people because they want to have a decoupled head and movement system where they can move forward and then just look around with their head, but that is kind of intense for newcomers, so I can understand why Aspyr went down this route. But I think the thing is, like, you know, I don't know if you found this, but the movement was very slow with, you know, the smooth locomotion.
Very slow. Like,
slow.
Usually you have like 2-3 options to speed up, but in this one, it's just one pace. And that's all. And at the start, it feels good to be like walking that way. It totally suits the style of the game. But then later you're like, you know, it's a puzzle solving game, so you want to go fast from one place to another. But then you can't. So after a while, I went from walking locomotion to dashing, because I was done with the whole like slowpoke movement. So yeah, I'm not sure. Like there are 3 options, right, of what you can go for. You have walking locomotion, dash, and teleportation. I didn't try teleportation. I'm not sure about you, but
no, I did the same thing that you did. I went with smooth locomotion at first, which I think you're right, you know, it matches the sort of vibe of the beginning of the game. But later on, where you have to do a bit of backtracking between different parts of the mansion, I just wanted to get there quickly, so I switched over to dash as well. I didn't try the teleport because I don't necessarily like teleport. I think the dash did do a good job of moving around quickly. But the thing with the smooth locomotion is you actually pull the trigger to go a little bit faster. So if you push in the direction you want to go, you go slow. Then you go a little bit faster if you pull the left trigger. I would have liked it if you pull the right trigger as well at the same time that you just run, you know, so you could have both triggers pulled down and you run in that direction. That would have made things way nicer in terms of the smooth locomotion. But I think you know, the main criticism from a lot of people is they want more options, and I think as VR developers, they could just take this feedback on board, that the more options you can give the player for different methods of locomotion and different styles of locomotion, the better, because then you're going to cater for everyone's needs and they can customize their locomotion options to what they want. So some people were complaining that, you know, they had snap rotation instead of smooth rotation. Also, Oculus Rift users were complaining that the developers had used the trigger for grabbing items in game instead of the grip, which is kind of a bit disappointing. Like, I never played the game on Oculus, but yeah, it's just like, that's what the grip was there for, you know, to have that kind of nice sense of grip. Also, people reported on Rift that they didn't enable strafing, whereas I do remember they enabled strafing on the Vive, so kind of interesting they may have removed that from the Oculus version. But yeah, like I said, you know, these kind of methods of locomotion, the more you can add, I think, is the better.
I'm already happy that they went for smooth locomotion to teleportation to dash. There are so many games where you play them and you're like, okay, we need to send an email to the developer again telling them to add more options because it's important for the VR community, blah, blah, blah. Let's say it saves you a lot of hassle to do that up front, or even when you are having the concept ready for your game, to keep in mind that you want to have smooth locomotion. It felt like this game was not built from the ground up for walking locomotion, smooth locomotion. It was one of those, let's say, Apex Construct titles where you get stuck a lot, where you want to walk, but at some parts you can't because there are like dead spots. It felt like they added this later. I'm not sure about you, but that's how you were like moving around, where it didn't feel like a smooth loco friendly title.
Yeah, there was definitely parts of the game where I got stuck through smooth locomotion, and that would be because there was like an object in my way. Like, you wouldn't just walk through it, you'd have to physically move it, which does make sense. But yeah, sometimes it didn't quite make sense. But most of the game, like, I played the first half of the game smooth and then let the second half dash. And I thought both worked fine for me, but I can understand some people's complaints if they're used to a certain locomotion method. But, you know, these kind of things can be easily updated by the developers.
I'm sure.
I don't necessarily think it's difficult for them to update some smooth rotation to please everyone.
Let's say it's not game breaking at all. Exactly. It's not something that can't be solved. No, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah. So they have got a few options there, but I understand from the criticism and the feedback from the community is that not everyone was happy with it. But then again, people from the community very rarely are happy, put it that way. There's always something to complain about. But, you know, you understand. So let's move on to the sound, because you touched on the sound a little bit, and I think you're right there in that, you know, the sound and the music score does a really great job of kind of immersing you even more into this beautiful environment that you can see with your eyes. And I thought the voice acting from the female character, because you do play a female character called Catherine Patterson, and the Dr. Talbot voice lines were delivered very well. I thought it was a pretty decent job in terms of the voice acting. It did get a bit wordy at times, I felt. Like, I don't know if you kind of experienced this, but certainly in the down parts of the game where it's more about the story and you get transported to the parallel and you're having conversations with Dr. Talbot, sometimes it did get a bit wordy and you were just merely a bystander watching the story unfold. And I think that they were the kind of the game's sort of down parts, but in a way it did serve as a good way to break up the gameplay and add a little bit of pacing to the game. So, you know, it's kind of swings and roundabouts on that. But on the subject of the soundtrack was actually produced by Garry Schyman, who was also created the score for the original BioShock game. So again, if you were kind of getting those BioShock vibes, that's probably why. So let's move down to the gameplay itself, like the core gameplay elements of this game. And I think it can be broken down into exploring the mansion, solving puzzles, and collecting memories. So the simple sort of, to break down the gameplay in its simplest terms, is it just revolves around the use of a gravity tool, right? Which is like, it serves as a torch, it serves as a key to open locked doors, like a lever handle to pull levers, and it's like a physics-based wand which you can use to pick up objects that are distant, far away from you, and they levitate, and you can pull them and closer to you and further away, and you basically use that to solve puzzles. Now, the puzzles themselves are pretty simple. Essentially, you have to complete circuits which are hidden within rooms, right? You uncover them by shining the torch on the floor or the walls or the ceiling, and you can see the traces of the circuits, and there's parts of them that are broken, and you have to sort of pick up items from the room and slot those into place to kind of, you know, bridge the circuit and complete the circuit, and then that solves the puzzle, and then you move on to the next one. And each room has 3 of those puzzles you have to complete, and then that room is completed. But then on top of that, you have to look around the room with your torch, and then if you see an item wiggle or move a little bit, then you have to pick it up, and then that creates a memory, and then that gets added to the barometer, which is like a kind of machine in each room that collects the memories that you earn from solving the puzzle. So it's kind of a bit mind-blowing. Hopefully
you sound like a crazy Frankenstein doctor.
I know. Hopefully I explained it in a nice way, but I'm sure, you know, we're going to overlay the video of like the gameplay. So maybe like
Dr. Junkenstein.
Me talking and you seeing the gameplay, you'll kind of get a greater understanding of what this game is actually about.
You do kind of look like a mad scientist.
Like a mad scientist, yeah.
Especially
definitely.
when you then talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, it makes total sense.
I feel like one sometimes. I feel like one sometimes. So yeah, like I said, like you have to search for memories in the room, and this is something that I didn't realize till later on in the game. Actually, it was probably like later on in the first act of the game that I actually realized that collecting these memories that are hidden within rooms is so important. And it's kind of a bit like Luigi's Mansion, you know, you sort of shining your torch around, something's kind of moving, a little bit supernatural, you have to pick it up, and that's how you earn the memory from that.
You can also use it to point at objects, and then this Dr. Talbot is like giving you a tour of his mansion. So he's also telling you stories about the objects you encounter, and I really like that.
Yeah, and that was really smart actually, and it's a really good point you made, because I remember there was a part where I was looking at like a box of tea, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is really nice tea." And I was like, "Oh, this is like a nice little touch," you know. And like you said, because there's so much stuff you can interact with in the world, it's interesting every now and again that he'll give you a bit of background story about the item that you're looking at, which is kind of cool. So let's talk about bugs, because you had some bugs, I had some bugs. Let's talk about the bugs.
Bugs? You mean?
Yeah.
I had a throwback to Gunheart for a second there.
Bugs everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, like falling. It wasn't that bad. We weren't falling through the floor or anything like that, which apparently we were doing by purpose.
Yeah. So I encountered 2 bugs, and they weren't major ones. Well, maybe one of them was. So let me just start with the small one. So I had a few times where I logged back into the game and I couldn't open the menu. Like I could open it, yes, but I couldn't open the settings in there. So for some reason, I couldn't change anything because I wanted to go from walking loco to teleportation, for example, or dash, but I couldn't do that. And it was the same with the other settings in there. It completely froze. So I just had to continue playing the game with the settings I saved up from the start. And then the other one was one where I entered like that other dimension, and when I wanted to go back, I was stuck in that like very bright transition, and nothing happened anymore. I could just hear the sea, but there was nothing I could do, so I had to reboot.
So with that crash, did you have to go back? Did it sort of save your point after the transition, or did you have to replay the whole conversation with Talbot in the parallel again?
I don't think so. No, I was like auto-saving at the right moment, but there are like occasions where if you crash, you're kind of screwed. You need to like re-listen to everything because the save points are based on I think like location and what puzzle you solved so far. So let's say if you're in the middle of a puzzle and then your game crashes, I think you need to do the whole thing again.
Yeah, although like you mentioned, the game does do a good job of auto-saving throughout the gameplay, and although I did encounter a crash, it didn't cause me any real backtracking or having to do stuff again, so I was quite fortunate in that. But yeah, I encountered one full game crash during the playthrough, where the game just stopped completely, and it just did like quit me out to Steam Home. And then the second bug, which was kind of unusual, swapped my hands over. So I had like you'll know that the gravity tool is in your right hand, but then it just switched over to my left. And obviously, if I swapped them around with the Vive controllers, my hand would be like this upside down. So for about an hour of the game, I actually played it with like the Vive controllers swapped over and a hand that was upside down. But then when I changed the locomotion settings to dash, it just reverted back. So it was in maybe something to do with the locomotion settings that changed it. But it was a really unusual bug. Like I never really had that before, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Well, you can like switch your gravity tool to the left or the right hand and also holster it, so that might have been like confused in that sense.
Yeah.
But
I have no idea how I did that, but it was kind of confusing.
Nice one, Mike. You broke the game. Good job.
Nice one. Yeah. But overall, it didn't affect the overall experience, and let's sort of like then move on to our conclusion of the game, because overall the game took me about 5 hours, just over 5 hours to complete, and I thought it was a decent length for a puzzle game, because a lot of the puzzle games we've previously tried in VR have been relatively short, maybe about an hour long, 2 hours long. Although I did find that the second act of this game was a little bit tedious leading up to the finale. You know, it got a bit too wordy involved in the story, and like I've said before, you were kind of a passive bystander in the story, and that was kind of a bit slow. But you know, the finale ultimately did pay off for me, because like I said, I'm a fan of Black Mirror, and if you're a fan of Black Mirror, you'll be satisfied. And overall, I would say that I do recommend the game, because you know, I like puzzle games, and you know, if you like puzzle games and you like exploration, then I would say you'll enjoy this one. But just note that the puzzles are very simple. It's just like kind of get the right part of the puzzle to fit in the right place. But it was the story that really pulled me through the whole gameplay, and unlike other puzzle games that I've played, it really did emphasize on a really strong story, and that was really great about this one. You know, the narration and the story was really what kind of pulled me through the whole adventure. So I don't know if you kind of have the same kind of feeling about it from your sort of playtime with the game.
Yeah, the storytelling was fantastic. It shows once again how important a good story is, and that it can carry the game.
But I think it's a great first game from Aspyr, you know, especially because they developed it in-house, and it's the first game they've developed in-house. So I think it's a really great start for them as a studio, and I really look forward to seeing more from them in the future. If I had to give it a score, I would probably say I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I don't know if you feel the same way, or...
Yeah, I mean, puzzle-wise, it wasn't the best thing ever, but just the environments, the feel to it, the story, like for me that's like art on a level we haven't seen before. So for me, it would be like going to an 8. It's like somewhere in the middle, like 7, 8. And that's not because I'm a BioShock fan. No, but I did feel that BioShock vibe as well, and I do see the future of like good storytelling VR games. So let's hope they will continue doing this. And it's also a great honor to have a development studio like Aspyr to do a VR game as their first title. You know, that's like, you need to have some guts for that.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they could have also gone for a pancake title after so much like experience. You know, they parted so many big AAAs, and then they jump into a niche market.
So what you're saying is you want Aspyr to create you a BioShock game in VR. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, the one that they announced at E3 that never came out. You know, the Big Daddy like simulator thing, please.
Oh right, yes. Okay, there you go, Aspyr. You got some inspiration for a future game there. But there you have it, guys and girls. I hope you have enjoyed this sort of VR game review. Let us know what you think of Torn in the comments down below. Have you had a chance to check it out? Are you interested in checking this one out? We'd love to know your thoughts. Also, let us know if you want us to continue doing these reviews, and let us know what games you'd like us to review. Maybe you'd want us to review some PSVR games, for example. We'd also be interested in doing that if you guys and girls want that kind of content. So, there we have it. That is Torn. So, anything you want to say, Nathie?
As long as you guys don't tell us to review Jumanji or the Halo title, I'm okay with it. Okay, you can just post whatever you want.
There you go. You got two caveats. We're not going to review those games, but anything else, we're open to suggestions.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. So until next time, we'll see you then. So bye bye for now.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.